I know, but I don't usually.
Yeah, no, I know you don't want to cut. You don't have to cut out parts, but
me and Jamar said
some crazy shit. Yeah,
for like 5 seconds there. It was like, oh, really?
It was like, wait, this is actually like kind of fucked. No, that's the good shit though.
Let's do it. Thank you for joining the podcast. This is Apartment B with Laurent Josie, and I'm like looking down at there, forgetting the cameras right there.
Oh shit, yeah, you're right. Wait, I was doing the same thing.
Thank you for joining Apartment B. This is a podcast by Laurent Josie. And today I'm here with Zeke Joyner. Digital claps.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for having me, Josie. I appreciate it.
Yeah, tell them what you do.
I am unemployed. No, I am unemployed, but I'm 25 and graduated film school last August. So I'm in like almost like a gap year, you could say. But in the meantime, doing a lot of stand-up comedy. Hopefully pivoting from film into stand-up. So that's the plan.
I mean, but dang, those are some notches under your belt, though.
Yeah, so I did undergrad, and it was in English, creative writing. So I was actually a poet. I was writing a lot of poetry, which is like, you can do nothing with that. I mean, if you want to get into academic poetry, like, sure, you can get a PhD. And
you have great sentences. Like, I've been hearing you talk, and like, you'll say certain words. I'm like, damn, that's a good word.
I appreciate it.
And I'm like writing it down.
That's like, it's funny because that's one of the only virtues of my undergraduate degree is like, I got a decent vocabulary, and they made us read it. They made us read books. They made us read novels and shit, which was interesting. But that stuff was good. And then, yeah, after that, went to film school, studied film production. It was a whirlwind. It's crazy, dude.
Oh, but it sounds fun. Like, you're like living the dream of, like, if I wanted to be in college right now, I would definitely be. Dude,
there was, I know where you're coming from for sure. There was a time in my undergrad where it was like, and I think back, sometimes I act like a 50-year-old. Like, I reminisce, dude, and I reminisce on my college days, and like, literally, really all I cared about was like writing poetry, doing stand-up comedy, and cooking, like making food.
Like, is that sounds like a life for like Guy Fieri, or like someone who doesn't.
It was beautiful, man. It was amazing. And then COVID fucking fucked literally everything up.
Dude, it really did.
It fucked everything up, bro. It was so fucked.
That's when I started like rocking stand up a lot more. Yeah. And it was funny because I was in college at the time too. So I was going to class. All right, after class I gotta go hit these assignments real quick, and then I gotta hop on the bus, go like an hour and a half downtown to go to some bar where I'm gonna end up being like 45th on the list.
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
So I'm doing comedy in front of two dudes at like 1 a.m. class in the morning at 8.
Dude, but it's idyllic though. Like that grind and that, like, I don't know. Even as you were saying it, I was like, damn, that is like, there's something about it that's so beautiful though. Yeah. Is like, I have this thing that I do during the day, but the real thing that I actually really care about exists only by moonlight. You know,
Batman.
It can feel that way sometimes. But yeah, dude, once COVID rolled around, it was like, that was actually when I like stepped away from comedy, because obviously all the in-person mics were fucked, and dude, Zoom comedy was just like,
no, I didn't even do it. I get anxious. I couldn't even.
Yeah, no, I could. It's a different medium. It's literally a different medium. It's like, it's a different version of stand-up because you have to wait for delay.
Yeah,
like you're like doing bits to a computer, and you're like, okay, have they heard it yet? And then you have this, question of like, okay, did they hear it and I'm bombing, or they haven't heard it yet and I'm gonna start a bit and then they're gonna start laughing. So it's like,
the timing's. Man, isn't that crazy how important like timing is for the comedy though?
Of course.
Because I don't think people get how precise it really is. Dude. Like, if you wait 1 second longer to say something, it won't hit as if you would have said it a second before.
Totally. It was like, bro, recently Mitch gave me a note.
Shout out Mitch, by the way.
Shout out comedian Mitch. Yeah, Mitch gave me a note, and he was like, dude, just slow down. Like, take a breath. And I knew kind of instantaneously what he meant, because I was like, oh, I've been recording my sets before and after. Like, this is also one of the most psychopathic things I do, is I perform my set to no one, like just in an empty room.
It is psycho.
It's so psychopathic, because I find myself doing crowd work as well. Like, I find myself reacting to stuff that isn't happening. But when I'm listening back to these sets, I'm like, oh yeah, he's right. Like, I'm kind of rushing through bits because I want to get all the material done.
Yeah.
But in between the bits is like when the people are supposed to be laughing. and I'm just like rolling through it, and it's actually diminishing the bits that come after because I'm not giving that previous laugh the time of day. So they're still laughing, and I'm like, oh, here's another premise, and they're like, wait, fucking chill, like you had us. So yeah, dude, the timing is fucking crucial.
That is a good note.
Yeah, no, definitely.
There was a time where I was also doing that. I was like trying to just get it out.
Yeah.
And sometimes it comes from just fear of silence.
Totally.
But then you sit in that silence, man. There's so much in there.
Yeah.
Like, just to be like.
I mean, dude, the real masters of it, the true, like, I'm just going to sit in this silence and I don't care. They can get laughs off of literally saying nothing.
Yeah.
Like just looking at the crowd and just calling the crowd's bluff.
Dude, Gerard Carmichael. That's right.
Yeah,
that dude's like a king of silence. Goated. He just
Absolutely
sits in
goated.
there. By the way, Carmichael show doesn't get enough credit. I don't know if you watched it.
No, I haven't seen it in its entirety. I think I've seen clips.
Dude, great sitcom.
Yeah. Yeah. There's many out there that don't get the fucking time they deserve, but yeah, dude, the timing of it, and then like you were saying, it's like the Zoom comedy is just timing is removed. Or it's not even that it's removed, it's like regimented. It's like because of the medium.
That's another word, by the way.
Regimented. Because of the medium, like here's your timing. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, like you're cooked. Even if you have good premises. It's like my heart breaks thinking about all of the good premises and jokes that just got lost. To Zoom COVID.
Dude, do you ever see Shark Boy and Lava Girl?
Mm-hmm, for sure.
When you say those comedy bits that just got lost, it reminds me of like there was like a part in the movie where they're like in this dream world where all the dreams die.
It's like it's the graveyard of broken toys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
100%.
And it's so sad how many great ideas
were lost in that time. Also, when I said that out loud, I was like, that's actually a somewhat fair description of just like any stand-up comedy scene. It's just like the graveyard of broken toys.
Oh, yeah. You're not lying.
Because we're all so fucked up, dude. But also not really. Because there is that like perception of comedy and comics as like, oh, they're a bunch of like nutcase head cases.
Drag addicts, depressive. People are like, we're ready to kill ourselves.
Yeah, no. It's I mean, obviously in some cases, sure, that's right. Like that's the case. But in most cases, it's like, nah, we're just trying to like, we just like love the craft. Yeah. Which is the corniest and dorkiest thing to say, but it's true.
I think it's I think it's like one of the most human things. Like,
for sure.
Like the comics I meet are so human.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because like you do comedy, right? And like your brain's like hyper focused on like on like regular like the most as the word, maybe the right word is minuscule, like
the minutia.
Yeah, like or just like any of the small little things, a small grin on a person's face. Or I see everything now.
Totally. Yeah.
And I just think we're not more human, but just more normal in a way.
I know what you mean. It's like we're more tuned in a little bit. We're a little more like saying empathetic makes us sound like we're something that we're not. But
JP's home. Hello, JP.
What's going on, man?
This is Zeke.
Nice to meet you, JP. I'm Zeke.
We're filming the pod.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
No worries at all.
Shout out JP. Shout out Callie. Can't even see her.
But yeah, no, I think we're just like, we kind of have to be a little bit more tuned in. And saying empathetic doesn't really, it makes it sound like we're like, oh, like we like see and understand people for like what, it's like not necessarily that, but it's like, you know, like you mentioned, like a grin on someone's face or like a furling of the brow or like, you know, someone
furling. Like, holy shit.
Someone like putting their hair behind their ear. It's like these little details that we can use to work off of and be funny off of. We kind of like come across them without even trying necessarily.
In normal time.
Yeah.
Plus, it's kind of like we kind of cut out the bullshit where you meet someone and it's always like, hey, how you doing? Good. How are you? Good.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Dude,
it's so boring now.
I couldn't agree more. And I was talking to another comic, you know, in the scene. Her name's Heather, and I was telling Heather, I was like, you know, and this is true. It's like when I got to film school, I was like, oh, this is gonna be everything I'm used to from comedy. Like this is gonna be like, you know, like the loony bin. Like everyone's gonna be a little crazy, and everyone's gonna understand one another, and everyone's gonna do bits, and there's gonna be a lot of laughing, a lot of creativity. And not to say that there wasn't a lot of laughing and creativity, but it certainly wasn't anything like being in a stand-up comedy scene. And like you're saying, in a stand-up comedy scene, it's like everyone is so human. Everyone's inherently pretty vulnerable just for doing stand-up at all.
Yeah.
But then after that, you'll ask them, and they'll be like, yeah, like, you know, either I'm down on my luck or, you know, I'm doing a job that I don't really love or care about at all. Like I really love stand up, and some people will talk about like divorces, and some people will talk about, even in my case, like weight loss or different things that are happening in one's life. And in the rest of regular society, it's like, there, and it sounds so, again, it sounds fucking corny to say and so like, philosophical, but like, but there is like a veneer, you know what I mean? There is like a layer between people in just like everyday society, and comedy so readily strips that away.
Yeah.
That it's beautiful. And like, it's, if you want to feel understood and if you want to feel like heard and seen, go do stand up, and ideally do well. Don't bomb, because that will make you feel shitty. But if you do well and then you talk to the comics afterwards, it'll be like, wow, I feel like understood.
Yeah.
And it is corny, but it's also,
no, it's very real. But there's even like pros. There's even cons to the comedy scene too, as far as like, sure. I'm not speaking specifically for ours, but just when you have all people, like after the show, right? Usually comics get in a group and like stand in a circle, and now it just feels like we're going bit for bit, and I can't stand that social setting because it feels like I gotta get like someone tells a joke and you're like, okay, right after he says something, I'm gonna get mine in. Yeah, I'm gonna have the whole. It feels like I'm at the lunch table again. For sure. Yeah, no, definitely. And it's like you're saying, it has this pros and cons, because comics are like, I can't remember who I was telling recently. I think it might have been my girlfriend, but comics, like, if it's mean, like if there's a mean comment or a mean joke to be made, they're gonna make it. Yeah. Because they're comics. It's like making people laugh is like just their regular, everyday, what's going on in their head, even if it's at the expense of someone else. Yeah. So there's that as a caveat. Especially at the expense of someone else sometimes.
Dude, I mean, for sure. Because sometimes people make themselves like targets, and it's like, all right, come on.
And you're like, finally.
Yeah, how am I not going to do a bit about that? But then on top of that, yeah, like going bit for bit, it gets exhausting. And like the time after doing a set can be some of the most like beautiful, glorious, like this is such a pure hang. Yeah. Because everyone's already done their set. Everyone's already performed. Everyone's already like busted their nuts, so to speak.
Everyone's already filled. They already got their laughs.
Yeah, they already got the laughs. And the people who bombed, if they're a good sport, they can get in on it too. Because you can start to joke about like, oh, I bombed so hard. Like that was crazy. Like what did I do? What went wrong? Blah, blah, whatever. Yeah. I've said it so many times, but it's true. It's like some of the most fun I've ever had in stand-up has been like after a bomb. And just I'm able to just be like, okay, you guys can joke, you guys can laugh, whatever. Like, and me and all the comics like basically make fun of how bad the set was, because it's just one set. You know what I mean? It's nothing like to get worked up over.
No, it just feels like that in the moment.
Yeah. Oh my God.
In the moment, you feel like you want to die. You're like, damn, I'm shamed. The worst part is that the stage is like there's not a door next to the stage, so you can't just walk right outside. You got to like walk through the crowd.
Dude, that's one of the couple things about Birds that's like, for all intents and purposes, Birds is like, we're really lucky to have it. Yeah. Like it's crazy that in Tallahassee, a very small, relatively small city, there's any semblance of comedy. But the fact that Birds is like, you guys can 2 nights a week, you can come here, you can do all your stuff. Like, I can't speak highly enough about Birds.
Free drink
is crazy, and getting paid.
Yeah, getting paid
is insane. But the only caveat is there's just no green room. Like, and of course, like they're not, housing real performers or like out of towners very often and stuff like that. So I get it. But like being able to have a space separate from the people that you're performing from is so nice.
That green room makes you feel like a king, man.
It makes you, it just makes it feel real, dude. It just makes it feel fucking real. Like I am a performer. I'm going to perform stand-up comedy. And when I'm not doing that, I'm not going to be in the crowd because I'm not a crowd member. Yeah. It's like the simplicity of it's crazy, but
dude, when I did that show with Opie at FSU.
Oh shit.
Like, shout out Jake, by the way. Shout out Jake. He's the booker at FSU Club Down Under. But Jake let me open for Opie.
So sick.
And it was so cool. I've never been in a circumstance where like I've had the green room, like when I performed in Pittsburgh, we had a green room. Yeah. But when we got here, it's like we're like hair before the show. When you just see the crew setting up sound checks.
Amazing.
See the lights getting put up. And then you go in the back hall and you see 2 doors. One says Laurent Josie, another one says Opie.
That's so sick, dude.
And then we're just, I'm like, well, I ain't got nobody in my green room. I'm going to go in your green room. There's snacks there. You're eating snacks. He's like, man, grab whatever you want. And we're just chilling there.
So
like
fucking sick.
I'm like, yo, so how's your career? Like, dude, what you been up to?
that is one of the unspoken, like, I'm trying to, a corollary would be like a backup quarterback in the NFL is like when you are an opener or a feature act for like a headliner. I've heard other comics talk about this, but it is truly like, I would drop everything right now and do that if I could. Because you literally, it's that, but now you're touring the country and getting paid.
Oh my, they paid you to be here.
Yeah.
Like, they flew you in.
Yeah, like they literally, and you know, part of the roadmap, I don't know if there's anyone who listens to this who's like wanting to get into comedy or like wants to figure out the route to do it professionally, but I think one of the routes genuinely is like go to a hub, go to like, you know, a New York or an LA or an Austin or an Atlanta or Chicago, and just perform enough and just hope that somebody sees you and is like, I need an opener. Because that seems to be the route, is like once you start opening for a pro, you first of all, they start paying you so you can, you know, pay rent on comedy, which is like the first step. But then after that, it's like, if you have 30 minutes, if you have an hour, like you can start trying to headline and like sell your own tickets. And then once you do that, it's like, all right, now you're...
I guess it's kind of different too, though, because we have internet.
For sure.
So like, if you can just get people to sit down in your place,
dude,
they'll give you time.
Well, dude, and also like the art of like cold DMing or like cold calling.
Yeah.
Because there's times where I've thought about it and I was like, I might just DM every fucking comic that I follow on Instagram and be like, this is who I am. This is what I aspire to do.
Here's my tape.
What do I do? How do I do this? Or even just like give me advice. Because if even like one of these pro comics responded, it would mean that the name would be in their head.
Yeah.
Like they would maybe remember me. So it's like if they saw me at some, you know, Chuckle Hut in fucking Tuscaloosa or whatever, it's like they'd like be like, oh, okay, I remember you.
Dude, Opie literally just said move.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you think I should? He said, dude, get out of here.
Yeah.
Go somewhere.
100%, dude.
Where there's comics.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that's really is like, it sounds, and you know, it's a testament to the like impossibility of explaining wanting to do stand up to somebody. But it's like, that's literally the first step, is just go where people do it.
Yeah.
Because people are like, oh, like, what are you going to do? Go out there and just like, you know, become fucking Dan Carlin or whatever, or, you know, Richard Pryor. It's like, no, there's not a roadmap, but there is like a route.
Yeah.
Technically. And it starts with like just going to a hub.
That's the scarier part too.
So
it's
scary.
like one of those other things where it's like when you're young and they're like, dude, just go talk to the girl. You're like, I'm scared. Oh, how do I not be scared?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, just go talk to her.
Yeah.
Like the only way to win is to do it. Like you can't.
Which is also like, it's insane because it's the same exact way that stand up works.
Yeah.
It's the exact same roadmap, is like talking to chicks and doing stand up. But historically speaking, I was terrible at approaching girls. Still am.
You're not the only one.
Yeah, I mean it's very common, but like, it's weird that I have this like cognitive dissonance between like I'll go up in front of at the highest points probably like 70 to 100 people and just like perform stand up. Whereas like if I was at a party when I was 19, like you couldn't pay me to walk up to a girl and be like,
dude,
hey,
and
how are
people
you? And,
say that all the time. I don't like that.
I know.
Like,
I know.
Dude, it's literally one of my coworkers was like, dude, I'll just go talk to a girl. Like, you do stand up. And I'm like, it's not the same.
Completely different. It's so different.
First of all, I can't walk up to a girl and be like, yo, my dick's little. I can do that on stage. I can be like, yo, by the way,
For sure.
you gave me one of my favorite bits of all time that I do.
Which one's that?
Dude, we were literally at Fire Betty's. And I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta poop, bro. And you were like, dude, you should literally go up on stage and go, I got a shit.
Yeah.
And since then, I got a whole bit from it.
Yeah, dude, fuck yeah.
And I actually changed that bit yesterday because it wasn't working. I'm sure you've seen me perform. It's the one where I talk about how I'm getting older and like my asshole starts to leak water like 15 minutes before I have to shit. Yeah. And then
So
I would get to a part where I'd be like, a lady in the crowd one time asked me, she one time told me that it's because I'm drinking white cow milk.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out a part after that. And then I did it on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I switched it to my mom says it's because I'm drinking white cow milk. And, you know, my mom's pro-black cow milk.
Yeah.
And I told my mom I would never bring a white cow home. And then I go into this banter about my mom dating white dudes as a teenager. And it fucking worked. And I was like, damn, the feeling of figuring out another route to the bits
is literally one of the best feelings in the world. I was gonna, like, as you're saying it, I was like, damn, like, that is true. Like, getting a premise and then being willing to just go up on stage and like say it out loud basically
Scary.
is half the fucking battle. But when you're able to do that and when you're able to stay composed and not like, hide under the fear and just move on to material, that's where you find bits.
Yeah.
Is like going up on stage and being like, fucking, I think that WWE is for guys who don't want to accept that they would enjoy a play. Mm-hmm. Like I've had that premise in my mind for I don't know how long, and I've said it on stage so many different times. It's most of the time gotten a laugh, but I've never had the gall to just like move forward and keep doing material about it. And I've even thought about where I would take it because it's true, because these WWE guys, like, you'll talk to one of these guys and they'll like perfectly explain the 3-act structure to you. Like they'll be like, oh yeah, this is the without realizing it, they'll be like, the protagonist in Act 1 was, getting into all this trouble, and that in Act 3 it's going to come back around. You know what I mean? It's like, it's going to loop back around, whether it be The Undertaker or whatever. And it's like, these guys are literally learning about theater. Yeah. About like actual, like the conventions of theater, but without ever even realizing it. And I know that there's comedy there. I know that there's comedy there.
Well, yeah, because I mean, dude, you're The Undertaker.
Yeah.
But you can do like...
But what's crazy about it too is that it's like, I think a lot of people have like negative opinions about WWE and like professional wrestling. They're like, oh, it's fake or whatever. And it's like, yeah, so is every form of media I enjoy. Everything that I like to consume is fictional for the most part, even a lot of stand-up.
Yeah.
So it's like, why shit on them? And also, it's quite similar for me to like Greek theater, how I imagine like old Greek theater was.
Like Colosseum.
Yeah, like, amphitheaters in Greece and like 400 BC, you know what I mean? They're doing these performances and everyone knows that it's fake, but everyone just buys the fuck in. Like, everyone just locks in.
It's a story.
And has the best time of their fucking life, dude. Like, people's whole lives would revolve around like whatever performances the state was like putting on.
Yeah.
And it was like, if WWE was the performance then, they would have been like, this is the best thing that ever fucking happened to us, dude. They would have loved it.
And like you said, it's everything. It's literally everything. Like
TV, movies, most stand-up comedy is based in fiction. Well, not most of it, I shouldn't say that, but a lot of it is. And oh, dude, that actually raises a question. Is because my girlfriend was asking me like, what percentage of comics material do you think is fake? Like, actually just like made up. Like, a story about a person or a story about an experience. Like,
I actually don't know.
It's hard.
I think. See, I think it's just the nut of it that's real. Really. Yeah. Like the seed.
The kernel. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's bits that we do that is definitely like just
stretched for sure. Yeah.
Balloon animals,
Yeah, definitely. That's actually a beautiful way of putting it. And it's like, because basically what I told her is like, yeah, it doesn't, like, for me, it doesn't really matter. Like, no. I've never once been like watching a comic and been like, that's not real. The only comic who comes close is Theo Von for me, because basically his entire comedic brand is, at least on podcasts, is being like, I grew up with this crazy person and this is what they did. And most of the time the things that these people did were so fantastical. It's like, of course there's no way. There's no way this is real.
And it's funny because the way he says it, I'm like, that happened to you.
He says it with such colloquialism and such like confidence. Like,
what? Hold on. What was that word?
Colloquialism?
That is fucking amazing. That felt like, that felt like a laxative. Like, it just felt like I just got cleared out hearing that word.
Yeah.
Colloquialism?
Colloquialism.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
What a word.
I think if I remember correctly, it refers to like, everyday banter amongst like people in a given society, or like idioms are examples of colloquialisms as well. Like, the devil's beating his wife, referring to it, raining while the sun's out. Have you ever heard that before, by the way?
That word?
That like idiom, like the devil's beating his wife. Really? Okay, yeah.
I didn't know he had a woman. Yeah, I thought he had several hoes.
This is a funny story. It's like, there's a lot of, obviously we both grew up in the South, and like there's a lot of like.
Oh, I did not.
Oh, really? Like, you weren't here?
No,
I thought you were here for a while.
I got here like 3 years ago.
Really?
I was born and raised all the way in the north.
Damn. Okay. Well, so then maybe this will be news to you, but I'm sure you've picked up on it by now. It's like, there's like random darkness baked into the South, but in ways that you don't really expect. Like, obviously the Civil War and, all that stuff is like terrible and all that shit. But like, for instance, one day I was like 8 or 9 years old and I'm like looking out the window and I'm with my grandma, and she's my dad's mom. So she's from like Griffin, Georgia. She's been, her and her family have been in Georgia for I don't know how long. And I'm looking out the window, and I'm like, Grandma, it's it's raining, but the sun is shining. It's crazy, and like it was an insane visual even at the time. And she was like, "Oh yeah, like, growing up, we would say like, oh, the devil is beating his wife." Because like the devil being the son, and like the wife is crying, so the tears are like her.
Dude, that is violent.
It is. It's
the devil's beating
intense. The devil's beating his wife, and I was like, oh, okay. And so I would say that for basically the rest of my life, and almost every time I heard it, someone would be like, "Dude, what the fuck are you talking about?"
The devil is beating his wife. Is that like? Why would the sun be the devil? Like, the sun's bright and fun.
Yeah, it provides us with literally energy and feeds all the grass that feeds the cows that we eat. Yeah, it's insane, but that's just a southern idiom. Wait,
no, we would say God is crying. Or like if it's thunderstorming, I think it was like God is arguing or having an argument or something.
Yeah.
Like or the devil and God are fighting. Yeah. I don't know why that's the thing.
I don't know. I mean, it's like it goes back to like before humans could really explain shit. Really, yeah. I mean, it's so funny to think that like literally until super recently, humans didn't understand anything. Like George Washington lived before the discovery of dinosaurs. So like they literally were like, oh yeah, dragons and fucking mythical beasts used to like roam the earth and like.
But they were good,
Totally fine.
They were like life was like okay.
Totally
like
fine for sure. Because it was just like if you were a settler, which is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
In that time, it's like you're just fucking farming and shit. No worries.
Need your computer? I put it over there. It's on the couch. Wait, did you leave work already?
Damn. Yeah, hate to hear that.
He's chilling.
Oh yeah, so where were we?
Talking about the devil beating his wife.
Oh yeah, dude, just southern colloquialisms and shit.
The devil had even a wife?
I mean, he's probably got a lot of mistresses and shit. Yeah, both male and female, dude.
Held down.
The devil's fucking up to something always, dude.
You can't hold him down.
That's actually interesting now that I know that you grew up in the North. Is like, was there as much like religion baked into everything as it is here? Yeah, I didn't imagine.
No, that's why this is so interesting to be here, because I've never heard of the Bible Belt. Mm-hmm. Apparently, that's where we're at.
Oh yeah. Yes, sir.
Dude, I literally, my barber. Shout out Steve. He's like tries to convert me into an atheist every time I'm in the chair. Like really? I'm in and he has the best haircuts. So I'm in a monopoly right now.
Yeah, well this is, by the way, this is a bit. I don't know if you do material about this, but this is a hilarious premise. Is an atheist is like a evangelist atheist who's giving people haircuts. It's very funny.
He's trying to talk me
yeah.
And I'm like, well, I haven't read the whole Bible, Yeah, I'm trying to give him reasons why I can't argue right now. And he's like, so then why do you believe it? And every time if I'd try to branch off, LeBron had a great game last night. He finds a way to route it back to why do you believe in God? And
they're out there, man. These people are out there.
So, and I try to tell him dude, it's different for you here because I grew up with everything, Muslim, Jewish, Catholic, all that. It was Ash Wednesday last Wednesday.
Yeah.
I didn't see any Ash.
I saw one Ash.
Yeah, it was, up there, it's everyone.
Yeah.
So I was trying to tell him, dude, I've experienced different things. So I chose this. It wasn't pushed upon me. For him, he talks to me about how growing up, his mom was, and his dad were drilling that into him.
Of course.
I'm you didn't really have an option. So for you to turn against it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Because there's so many people that are like that here, where I see both sides of it, and I've seen it my entire life. It's there are people who are actively in it, who are you need to get in on this. It's fire. It's so good for you.
It's fire. They talk about Christianity.
Yeah, no, literally accepting Jesus Christ in your life is sick as fuck. But it's true. They do. They evangelize that way. And then there's the people who very clearly had that in their life and left that behind.
So far from it.
But the thing is they're also evangelizing.
Yeah.
They're just doing it for the opposite side.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think that the takeaway for me has always been like, I'm not going to put too many eggs in any basket. I'm going to try and like shop around and see if this religion
shop around. We're talking about faith.
It's true, dude. You got to read up on the other, what everyone else is saying about it, because you start to recognize similarities. And like, you know, I got to a point eventually where I was like, bro, these religions are basically all saying the same shit.
Yeah.
Like at some
level,
everyone's saying that there's a God. Everyone's saying that there was a prodigal son of some kind. Like there was some hero. Everyone's saying there was a flood and that ship was fucked.
3-act story.
I mean, pretty much. And it's like, you know, the man with 1,000 or the hero with 1,000 faces or whatever. But on top of that, they all have moral takeaways. They're like, you shouldn't steal, you shouldn't kill, you shouldn't rape, you shouldn't do all these things.
Yeah.
And especially, dude, if you get into the weeds of the Bible, like there are parts of the Bible where they're like, don't eat shellfish, like because of the cleanliness practices associated with like cleaning fish and like shellfish and shit. And you start to deduce like, oh, this was like a roadmap for early people to, yes, garner a relationship with God, but also to understand the world around them. Because they were, you know, this is 1,000 years before any semblance of, I mean, this is honestly almost 2,000 years before like any form of modern medicine,
mm-hmm.
any form of real science going on. Like these people didn't have anything to go off of other than what like a priest or someone told them.
Which is nuts that they really got anything done. Almost like,
yeah,
you know, you got the pyramids.
Yeah, dude. What's a complete mind fuck is that I'm pretty sure there's more pyramids in Central and South America than there are in Egypt.
Really?
Yeah, and in this hemisphere, they never got the wheel. Like the ancient peoples, like the Inca, the Maya, all of the like Central and South American big like, what would you say, like tribes or big like cultures that we know of, they never had the fucking wheel.
How do you just not get the best?
The hottest drop.
Everyone has iPhone over here, and you're just fucking BlackBerry.
Dude, BlackBerry
for years.
Like Motorola Razor, like it was. Yeah, they didn't have the wheel, and they were building pyramids left and fucking right, dude. I mean,
they had no idea. How do you have no idea? We're killing it over. You have no idea what's going on over here.
It's so insane because like pre-colonization, like you know, Western Europe coming to this hemisphere. It was just, first of all, everything tasty in this world did not exist in Europe until trade. Because like potatoes, tomatoes, so many different delicious fruits were in China first, or so many different fruits and vegetables were here. Like tobacco was here, sugarcane was here, coffee was here. It might have been in West Africa as well. But yeah, dude.
I'm learning this for the first time. Like as you're saying it, by the way. Like I have a little, very small little things like I remember. Like I could say Mesopotamia right now, but if you tell me to spell it,
that would be a tough one regardless. I think Mesopotamia is kind of fucked.
And then Tamia.
Yeah, that's like onomatopoeia though. It's like, all right, it's kind of like
which I love saying onomatopoeia in regular life.
Fucking
like,
bang. Yeah,
that's such a great joke. Like I've used that joke. By the way, do you have like little bits you do every day? Or like
probably, yeah. I mean, for me, it's like voices and accents that just they happen in my head and I have to say them. Like
it just, you got little routines that you do
for sure.
in social settings that you just hit every time.
Mm-hmm.
What's one that I do? This is stupid, but someone will be like, wait, so are you a Pisces? I'm like, no, I'm Christian.
Yeah.
And it hits every time.
That's a classic one.
Like,
dude, my dad had some fucking heater ones always. Like they're like this, what you're talking about is like pretty closely associated with like dad jokes, but not like the shitty, like, ones, like the ones that are like, all right, that's clever. Anytime I would get a haircut, I would come home and I'd be like, oh, Dad, I got a haircut, and he would be like, which one?
That's good. That's
classic.
A good bit.
Classic.
Oh,
and his all time classic one is like, oh,
that's a good bit.
Fuck, it's like about movies. It's like, it'll be like, oh yeah, okay. So he'll be recommending a movie. And someone will be like, oh, what's it about? And he'll be like, it's about an hour and a half.
That's great. Like, oh my.
Yeah.
I can't wait to be a father. Dude, I'm going to fucking kill these
unlock bits that are fucking so sick. Dude.
By the way, you ever just like wait for shit to happen?
For sure.
Like, because like Mitch is like 31. Tech's like 30 something.
Mm.
They have so much experience on bits.
For sure.
Like they have life experience.
Yeah.
Where they could be like, so yeah, I'm going through a divorce. Like I can't talk about
Yeah.
anything. Dude, literally, I just got shit and sex jokes right now.
Dude, well, that's, I mean, first of all, write what you know. Because that's like, I remember there was one time where Scott was like, oh, yeah, you're doing a lot of material about jacking. And I was like, well, you know, write what you know.
What you know.
Like, write what you know. But that's the thing is, like, if you think about it this way, like, we can't even do material about the 90s. You know what I mean? Like, they can do material about, like, shit in the 90s.
A whole decade.
Yeah, dude, like, that's, and we're just out on that. Like, I was born in 99. So, like, oh, I joke with people born after 2000. I'm like, oh, you fucking different millennia or whatever. But yeah, dude, I don't remember shit until I don't remember really starting to form memories until I was like, you know, five or six. And by that time, it's already halfway through the 2000s. We're already in the war. I think Pat Tillman's already dead, which is like, that's fucked.
Who's that?
Pat Tillman.
I don't even know.
Oh, dude. Okay, so I can be pretty conspiratorial, but this one is like pretty well documented. And so basically, Pat Tillman was this football player. He was this dude, pretty well known in the NFL. He was like a safety for the Cardinals. He was this white guy, and
a white safety.
A white safety, yeah.
We're going back. Yeah,
that was a fucking rare breed. But
there's a white corner right now, by the way.
I know.
The Eagles.
What's his name? Fucking.
I think he's on the Eagles.
Yeah, he caught an interception in the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure. But yeah. So he's in the NFL, like making NFL money, like making his career. And the war breaks out in the Middle East. It's like early 2000s, and him and his older brother decided that they were going to join the Army Rangers. Like he was going to leave the NFL, join the Army Rangers, and fight in the war. So he did. Him and his brother literally like went to, I think it's called RIP, like Ranger Indoctrination Program. Like they did all the Rangers.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Like
what's that over there?
Rangers like are fucking. They're insane. They're elite. Shout out the Rangers. But so they join and they go to war. They go to war in the Middle East, and it's intense. Obviously, like it's war in Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan. But basically, what came out to the public and what came out to the family is like Pat was killed in action.
Yeah.
And that's like basically all the government was willing to say about it. And so the public was like, you know, holy shit, this is so sad. He was an American hero. Like, you know, a lot of the takeaway from the public was like more people should be like Pat Tillman. More people should join the war. More people should like rally behind this cause. Because if he was willing to give his life, even though he was an NFL star, everyone should do it. And it was like, you know, he became sort of a martyr.
Yeah.
And obviously that benefits the administration. Obviously that benefits the armed forces. More people are joining the war because Pat Tillman's, he's like on posters now and stuff. Like he becomes an American hero. And he was. But the circumstances surrounding his death were unclear. So it is actually a Herculean effort by his mom to like figure out what happened.
Yeah.
And so she does all this research. She's lobbying the government. Tell me what happened to my son. Tell me what happened to my son. And then finally, it came to light that he was killed by friendly fire.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, like, he had been killed by Americans. Other Americans had killed him. And even still, they weren't, like, really ready to say, like, how that went down. But the mom was able to finally get an answer, like, he wasn't killed by enemy forces. He was killed by the government. Now, where the conspiratorial angle comes in is, like, you know, my dad had my brother and I read this book, and it's about Pat Tillman, and it's by this author named John Krakauer. He's an amazing nonfiction author. If you're out there, go read him. He's amazing.
Dude, you seems like you have great parents, by the way.
Huh?
You have great parents.
Oh, yeah. They're very, very lucky.
Every time you mention them, I'm like, damn, these are great people.
And then, but where the conspiratorial angle comes in is, like, there were other soldiers who knew him and who were, you know, shoulder to shoulder with him who felt like the actions were deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
Like it seemed like the friendly fire was so negligent and so belligerent that it seemed like they were like, oh, they killed him on purpose. And the conspiracy theorists are like, oh, it kind of seems like they killed him on purpose so that they could make him into a martyr so that more people would join the war.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That
and like
nuts.
When you read the book and when you see, there's like a documentary about it. Like there's many documentaries about it actually, but like you really start to like drink that Kool-Aid and be like, holy shit, like the government killed Pat Tillman. Like he was literally the example, like textbook example of like American hero, like was in the NFL, left the NFL, left stardom and left all this money to
Muhammad
fight
Ali
for...
didn't do that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Literally, exactly.
I mean, but then again, now I'm looking at him like, okay, Muhammad.
Well, Muhammad fucking...
Dude, they would have got you.
Oh,
they would have fucking
gatted his ass.
took you out, Muhammad.
Bro, they would have shot him instantly and been like, he was a hero, like, joined the war. Which is what happened to Pat Tillman. It's sad, dude. It's fucking really sad. But...
Was he a good safety?
I don't remember. I think... I mean, he played. Like, he definitely was, like, on the field playing. He wasn't, like, a second stringer or, like, a practice squad guy. But yeah, dude. I mean, dude, I honestly, it's like, oh, like, what's your Roman Empire? That's like a thing. And it's like, what is my Roman Empire is, number one, just the Roman Empire, because it's fucking crazy. And I do love history, but my Roman Empire is like the war in the East, is like the war that was happening when we were like babies. Because it's crazy, bro.
Dude,
so crazy.
I mean, honestly, I literally I have not been involved in anything politics until like a couple of months ago, maybe.
Really?
So like I'm learning all this for the first time, mostly.
Dude, have you seen Black Hawk Down?
Mm-mm.
Bro.
Black Hawk Down?
No.
I've seen Black Hawk Down.
I've seen Black Hawk Down many, many times.
Yeah, they destroyed her.
Dude, it's crazy, and it's a real story of American soldiers. I like war history. I guess I like American like military history, but in the 90s, the U.S. was like involved in Somalia, which is like people like low-key don't know that. But basically there was just this conflict in Mogadishu, and it was super intense. But the movie does like a really good job of like actually telling you what happened, and also it's super entertaining and like really fire.
Is it a doc?
No, well there is a doc now on Netflix. They just released it, but the original movie is like, fictionalized like actors and all that stuff. But yeah, dude, Black Hawk Down's crazy. Dude, like, but yeah, the war in the East, bro, like it's just, for me, it's just an example, a really clear example of the United States getting into a war for something other than like freedom or democracy. In this case, oil, which is like, okay, everybody needs oil, but
everyone needs oil.
Spoken
like a real Diddy fan.
Yeah, I mean, Diddy really needed oil, but
fight for oil,
dude, it's crazy. He was a patriot in the fight for oil, but but yeah, dude, it's like, it's just insane. And Americans died and all this shit happened and so many civilians died, and like, bro, something I realized that I learned about recently, which is like literally crazy, bro.
What?
So Americans were like going into Iraq, and I think mainly Iraq, though, because that's where Saddam Hussein was.
Yeah.
And they were fighting these forces. They were trying to fight Al-Qaeda. They were trying to fight what would later become ISIS. And what they did was they set up shop in Afghanistan and basically destroyed all of the like insurgency. Like they quelled whatever like fighting force was against the U.S. They just like took care of it, and they were like, all right, great, this is sick. But what it created was like a power vacuum. And ISIS like went into Afghanistan after American forces had already been there, and they were like, oh, since the Americans killed all the insurgents that were here, we can take power now. And they did. And then they started a civil war.
It's like getting seconds. Like
literally, they got the scraps.
We go eat.
They literally were going to go eat, and they did, and they caused a civil war in Afghanistan that like ravaged the infrastructure of Afghanistan, which was already horrible.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, that I think about that war all the time. It's fucking crazy. Go look into it if you're listening and are interested, because it's really bad.
I'm interested because I don't know what's going on. I know very little things like I know what insurgents are, but that's only because of Cat Williams.
Really?
He said it in a special.
Dude, one of the fucking goats. One of the absolute goats.
He was like talking about that war that you're talking about right now for like a couple minutes. And it's funny how he does it, because he like does it in a way where anyone could understand this.
Yeah. Yes, dude. One of his absolute like best attributes is just being able to like package material in such a way that anybody can fucking process it, even me. And like,
that's a serious topic too.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, dude,
like,
for sure. I actually think like part of what I hope to do with comedy is, this would be like the dream scenario. Obviously, getting paid to do comedy would be like number one. Like, this is the best case. But getting paid to do a style of comedy that involves me like reflecting on history, it would be like the ideal scenario. Because then all I would do is just read history and then just do bits about it.
Oh, that's
and bro,
great.
There's so much fucking crazy, funny shit in history, bro. In Boston in the late 1800s, they had what's called, okay, so you know molasses, like the syrupy shit. So they had this factory where they made molasses, and the fucking vats that held the molasses broke, and it caused a tsunami of molasses in the streets.
Molasses.
Yeah, in the streets, and people died. Like syrup.
Was it like quicksand at that point?
Dude, it was like I think it was like what are those like Newtonian liquids where like when you hit them they're like solid, but if you try and sink into them they'll like, yeah, I guess it would be like quicksand kind of. Yeah. And people drowned in fucking molasses, bro. And like obviously it's dark and terrible, but it was a couple hundred years ago. It's like you can see the hilarity of that scenario.
No, it's very hilarious. It's
like oh my god, the syrup.
Just like thinking about like someone's hand poking out the top of the molasses,
or the one guy that was like he's like, I'll eat my way out of this.
Is molasses good?
I mean, it's sweet. It's like sweet and kind of like what's the word for like, it's like kind of weedy, like wheat or barley or something like that, because they like roast shit to get the sugar darker. And I don't remember eating it very much, but back in the day it was like hella used, because you could use it to like basically, if you didn't have enough like regular sugar, you could like stretch it by making it into molasses.
Oh, like it was a substitute?
Pretty much, yeah.
So what about the phrase slow as molasses?
It's super slow because it becomes like syrup. So like like if you were to go like that, like it would like pour out very slowly. But you can imagine there was so much molasses in Boston that it literally created like a wave.
But was the wave like slow motion?
I mean, it must have been. I guess it would have been.
If you were just like
like that Austin Powers bit where he's like rolling towards him, but he's like no, and he's just like, so he's like, get out of the way.
Yeah, literally that. Like
yeah, I think that there was probably some older folks that just got caught up.
That's a weak way to die.
I mean, dude, it's a fucking crazy way to die, and those again, like that's just